Hello folks, Stephen Maloney here from Edinburgh and Scotland Tour Company. Today I am in a really cool place. This church behind me is Duddingston Kirk. Isn't that spectacular? Now this church dates back to 1124. I'm just going to turn around. This church dates back to 1124. And a lot of the structure you see there is from the 1600s, and it was renovated in the 1960s. I think it was 1969. Just let you see the stonework. I don't know if you remember Dunblane the other day there in the cathedral. Very similar stonework to what was on the side of the cathedral. Look at that, an old doorway. Isn't that spectacular? The Reverend James McFarlane, he must have been a reverend here. See the stonework there, that's ancient. Beautiful. So, the story is, there was a reverend called John Thompson, and he was the minister here in the early 1800s. He was also a renowned artist, and he was friends with our Henry Raeburn from Edinburgh, and the English painter Turner as well. And so he called his parishioners his bairns, which is like a Scots word for child. And there's a Scots saying, it's we're all Jock Thompson's bairns, which basically means we're all equal. So that refers to Jock Thompson or John Thompson. So, what a stunning looking building. And this little building here is a watchtower. So in the early 1800s, there was a problem in Edinburgh with body snatchers. Burke and Hare weren't grave robbers themselves, they were murderers, but it all came to head in 1832, where they changed the law. But this was a watchtower to look out over the graves, so people wouldn't take fresh bodies from the grave. Incidentally, in the manse over there, at the other side of that wall, there's a little tower that overlooks Duddingston Loch, and it's called Edinburgh. So when Jock Thompson was in his little tower painting, he would tell his assistant to say that he was in Edinburgh. So he didn't have to lie. He just said, he's in Edinburgh, can you call back later? When he was in actual fact in the manse, in the garden. So let's have a little look around this building, and then I'm going to take you across to Duddingston village. It's an ancient little village, a medieval village. Just get a clock of that clock tower there. Isn't that spectacular? And over there, that mountain we see, that's our extinct volcano, Arthur's Seat. It's just east of the city centre. And if you look down there, we'll see Duddingston Loch. What a magnificent place. And down there, there's a spectacular little garden, but it's only open in the summer. It's called Dr. Neil's Garden, and it's beautiful to walk around. It was two doctors, Mr. and Mrs. Neil, who were both doctors, and they started to keep it nice, and it's just gone on. Look at that! Oh, look at that! That must have been a sailor or something. Look at that! Beautiful. John, it's very hard to read. And then we have the side of the building here. What a stunning looking building. And then a little clock tower, watchtower over there. So Let's go for a wee wander through Duddingston. Duddingston's a little village. It's got one main street called the Causeway, and there's a pub there called the Sheep's Heid, which is basically Scots for the sheep's head. I think you can work that one out. And it dates back to, I think, the 1300s, so the 14th century. But before we head down there, when we come out of this Kirk here, you'll see a little thing here. This here, these chains were for people who had been bad in the parish, and it was a punishment. You had to stand there and be disgraced. You would stand there in shame, and all the local people would sort of frown upon you. And this thing here, this step, this is called the Loupin on Stane. So Loupin on Stane translates as climbing on stone. So this is for people to climb on their horse. Obviously the wealthier people in the parish. Fire made the seat, made the water, beside the water. Yeah, isn't that beautiful? Right, let's head down into Duddingston village. Like I said, this is the Causeway, and this takes us down to the Sheep's Heid. The Sheep's Heid, I think the Sheep's Heid used to be a delicacy. To boil the sheep's head and eat the meat from it. But this has been here. The Stuarts have said to have dined here as well, because if you look just to the left here, we're just on the border of the Queen's Park, which is where Arthur's Seat sits right now. Hi, Christy. So there's the Sheep's Heid there. That's not the front. Oh, there's a car coming. Try not to get killed. How it produced a coarse linen cloth known as Duddingston hardings. Ancient cultivation terraces can still be seen behind the village, and late Bronze Age artefacts. Duddingston Manse was once the home of the landscape painter, the Reverend John Thomson. Oh, I forgot to say that Sir Walter Scott was an elder. Prince Charlie's cottage, that's along the far end, and that's where he held his war council in 1745. And what's this? It's said to be one of the oldest in Scotland. An inn has stood on this site since the 16th century. In 1580, King James VI presented the landlord with an embellished ram's head. The present building is mainly 19th century, with an old bowed stair and skittle alley behind. Fascinating. And down through that little lane there, just at the end there, that's you in the Queen's Park. If you follow that road right round, it'll take you to Holyrood Palace. So this here is the Sheep's Heid. I come here quite a lot when I'm on a tour. Food's good and it's ancient. And this is the Causeway, or another part of the Causeway. So this is a mixture of Victorian, what's 1929, that's Georgian. Is it? Yeah, King George V. Look at that. Look at the old road there. That's cool. Yep, and when we get along to the end of this road, where that person with the dog is in the end, we'll come to Prince Charlie's house. And basically, before the Battle of Prestonpans in 1745, he held his war council here. So Bonnie Prince Charlie came here to claim the throne for his deposed ancestor, King James VII. He was deposed in favour of William of Orange because he was a Catholic, and they no longer wanted Catholics as a monarch. Look at that, Hawthorne Bray, Duddingston. Oh, beautiful, a big house up there. Yeah, so they no longer wanted a Catholic as the monarch. So people who supported Bonnie Prince Charlie were known as Jacobites, coming from the Latin for James, which is Jacobus, and hence the name Jacobite. So it was to regain the throne for his deposed ancestor, James VII. And it all culminated in 1746 with the Battle of Culloden, and the Jacobites were wiped out in about an hour at Culloden Moor. And Bonnie Prince Charlie fled back to France, then Italy. And he was aided on his way by Flora MacDonald, who was a young lady from Skye. So just coming to the end here, there's a nice old cottage, look at that. Coming to the end here, we just turn round this corner and we'll see the old Prince Charlie's house. Incidentally, that was up for sale about a year or two ago, I think, and it was going for about £400,000. So quite a nice so it's that quite a nice bit of property if you could afford it, you know. That's it there, see that one, that white house there with the orange roof. That's where Bonnie Prince Charlie stayed. He held his war council before the Battle of Prestonpans, which was a decisive victory for the Jacobites, basically because they crept up on the redcoats at about 5 in the morning and got them out their beds and slaughtered them. There we go, that's Bonnie Prince Charlie's house. And then you'll just see above the door, in this house on 19th September 1745, Prince Charles Edward Stuart held his council of war before the Battle of Prestonpans. That didn't work very well. There we have it. So guys, I hope you enjoyed my little snippet of Duddingston village. Yeah, I'm going to put this on Instagram, Facebook and YouTube, so be sure to subscribe if you're on YouTube. Okay, thanks very much.